So at the time, JST Athlete now.
Mm.
I guess let's get to know you a little bit first, with like your kind of journey into nutrition. So kind of a brief, kind of introduction of yourselves. I know you've got Esme, your other half as well, who's working at the minute. But yeah, do you want to give us a bit of an intro?
So my brief how I started nutrition is, being a child, I was morbidly obese. At the age of 16, love you, however, my brain like this. I was 24 stone at 16.
Wow. Okay.
So I lost 80 kg in a year. And I did it, all the mistakes that everyone would ever think about. I made them mistakes. And I thought, when I was just coming up to my 17th birthday, do I always have to do this? Do I always have to eat like this? And I was just like constantly researching, constantly finding out stuff. And I was like, hey, like, I need to address this. And obviously built up my knowledge like that, went into the armed forces, and then they paid for all my nutrition qualifications and degree. And then I sort of thought to myself, I don't want anyone else going through this, and I want to give back to everything that I've learned, because I had the most challenging mindset towards food, and I learned how to turn it into, I call, like, a superpower. And that was my journey from there. And then I set up a company. I was in the bodybuilding space for a very long time to fill out my skin. And then I lost, obviously, when I lost all the weight, I had a lot of excess skin. And then I found CrossFit, and I've been doing CrossFit for about 8 years now. And when CrossFit's still a new sport, I found, obviously, with all my research and everything that I do, that, hey, like, I can really help. I help other sports, but I can really help the CrossFit community on them getting the best out of themselves by good nutrition.
So I guess my my first question to you is that I think, because a lot of people have probably gone on a similar journey where they've maybe done that bodybuilding, more aesthetic style of training, and then come into CrossFit. So my kind of first question to you is, how does nutrition differ from someone who, like, is kind of trained to look good and do that bodybuilding style of training, to someone who's more kind of a performance driven and doing kind of CrossFit? Like, what are the main differences there?
It's like, obviously, bodybuilding and stuff like that, you still need to perform to a certain degree, but it's all about aesthetics. So it's all about manipulating an intake to allow you to look a certain way.
Okay.
Whereas, obviously, CrossFit's more of being able to have an intake in to be then converted as energy for you to be able to perform. Hence where Metcon comes from, metabolic conditioning, how you can convert food into energy. So, like, it's very much based on, you still get like CNS, obviously, central nervous system taxing with bodybuilding. It's a hypertrophy based exercise. So it's all about, more about, like, just as much as food away from training with bodybuilding, compared to CrossFit. It's very much, hey, like, we need to get the macronutrient timings, everything like that. And it's very much, obviously, governed by your body comp of what you want to try to achieve, as well with strength. But CrossFit is very much on that performance markers, knowing that actually we are using the main energy of macronutrient of carbohydrates to give us that fuel to be able to operate.
So for the, again, this is quite specific what we've maybe started on, but I feel like, again, a lot of people have come from this background, so maybe it's quite general too. But what would you say the main the usual mistakes that people make who maybe making that transition from the different sorts of training?
So when people come from, even if they come from bodybuilding or another sport, when they come to CrossFit, they see a mass difference in their body composition. It's like being a teenager again, where your testosterone is so high that your body comp just changes because of the neurological sort of adaptations that happen, right?
Yeah.
And the biggest mistake people make is you can be eating paleo, you can even be eating keto, like to get them body compositions, and that's where you just eat more fats or you eat solely nutrient dense food groups, um, and you to see that change. But after 6 months, like the adaptation and the stress on your body, you start to plateau. So the biggest thing that people make is that they actually undereat because they see really good physical and aesthetic changes to their body, and their energy systems obviously, because of the adaptation, get better, but it can very quickly fall off a cliff because they
Okay.
undereat and their body then it's like burning their body out. Um, so my biggest thing to people would be, hey, like get your tools in order, like make sure that you know like how to, I call it homeostasis your body, meaning how to balance your bodily systems by eating enough, similar to the, I know we're going to come to it, but the PDF, it's get everything in order so you don't come X amount of time down the line and you picked up injuries or you burnt your body out,
Yeah.
as such. um, and obviously carbs are your friend in the right, don't be abusive with it, but carbs are your friends.
Let's get stuck into some of the information that you put together for JST athletes.
Mm,
Obviously, this kind of phase of the climb is about laying good foundations,
mm.
and same for nutrition. You know, we want to be laying good foundations as well. So I guess let's go into what the foundations of nutrition are first, and build on that.
100%. So exactly like when you guys described what climb is, and it's if you look at a mountain, it's base building. Okay, it's exactly the same with your nutrition. So I see this as the human side of someone with nutrition. Okay, so how can we eat enough protein? How can we stay hydrated? How can we prioritize sleep and rest? Um, how can we include a good macro breakdown, and how can we eat enough? Now, we can look all that up on Google, right? But how can we make it relatable to the individual of going to ourselves? Assessing that is our structure. You know, when our jobs is the longer we do our job, the more efficient we are at doing it. And it should be exactly the same with our nutrition. So, for instance, like eating enough protein, what does that look like? Okay, 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of lean body weight. Okay, like that's great to be doing that, but how can we achieve that every single day? Like, we were talking before coming on here, and we were saying to ourselves, everyone's an individual and everyone's different. So achieving that will be different to A, B, and C person. So, for instance, like assess your busy lifestyle. If you have to get the kids ready in the morning and you have no time to eat, how do you still achieve your goal? Okay, well, do we go to something that takes 2 minutes to consume, like Greek yogurt or whey protein or a vegan protein, just easily convenient food groups to be able to hit your goal every single day, to be able to achieve that. So it's like going to yourself, right, let's set up a plan, let's set up a structure. How, as simple as like how many meals do you like to have a day and which will fit into your lifestyle and your training? For instance, like, okay, if I can eat four meals a day, then you can backtrack and go to yourself, okay, am I busy at this time? No or yes, or where's my training around this time? So 2 meals around that is then dedicated to having enough protein around training and everything like that. So it's basically just setting up the boundaries for to go more and more into the phase to get the results that you want to get.
Okay. For obviously you work with quite a number of JST athletes already. I think it's close to 20 or over 20. It's in and around that number. I remember just chatting at
Yeah.
around about it. Of those foundations, which do you find is the most common that people don't get or don't do? Yeah.
Um, I would say prioritize sleep and rest.
Okay.
Which is a big one. We live in a world where it's a high cortisol world. Instagram, what we have to work more. Training, especially in CrossFit, is stressful. Um, and with all the distractions, is we can like we could go to sleep at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, and because we're on our phones and stuff like that. I know I sound like a boring old man now, but it's all a percentage game, isn't it? Like if you go to bed 2 hours later every single day over the course of the year, how much of your performance markers are you affecting?
So many gains lost. It's
So many,
unbelievable.
100%. And also, in another one is enjoying the foods that you're eating.
Okay.
Making everything sustainable is key. We live in a world now where convenient foods and food groups that you prep or whatever, like make them tasty. Like athlete A, who I won't say their name on JST, like before working together would make their food bland and horrible. And I was like, scrap that. Before we do anything, I want you to make it nice. Like, get some spices, get some seasoning, organize it. Don't have bland, horrible foods.
Rice and chicken and broccoli.
100%. Like, don't, and with no seasoning, or you're just having that constantly because you feel like you're in that rut of having it.
Okay. Okay. That's good. It's good to know. It's good to know because a
Um,
lot of people, like you say, they'll be eating the fish and a rice cake, or the chicken, rice and veg, and just think, it's got to be bland, like for it to be good. But like you say, I think it's that whole consistency thing, like exactly like with training.
Mhm.
We make these gains like over a year from consistently squatting every week, from consistently, building up our kipping gymnastics and all this sort of stuff. It's the same principles with your nutrition as well, isn't it?
100%. I'll give you a fine example to do with training, like yesterday's 10 rep max back squat. Okay.
Mhm.
Like I sort of make a game out of it to get the best out of myself. So to my Esme or to my best friend, I say to him, joke around and go, "What do you reckon you can get?" Like I'll be able to get whatever. Just say a number, and like because they know me, they'll be like, hit 140. Like you can hit one. If you don't, then you got to do a forfeit. Like,
Okay.
and that motivates me because I think, well, I've got like people who trust who's just gave me this. I don't want to forfeit this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Exactly. Exactly. Make it fun.
yeah,
Make it interesting. So then you're more likely to
100%,
keep doing it. Yeah. It sounds so
100.
it sounds so simple, but it's
Mhm.
actually a lot of people don't think about that. It's similar with work, to be honest, as well. Like sometimes can get a bit stuck in a rut with work, and it'd be like
Mm.
it's tough getting through this today. And it's like, right, what can I do to kind of mix this up? Do I put like some sort of, for me, like a Lord of the Rings soundtrack on or something daft like that? That's just going to be like, right, let's just kind of make this a bit different. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Going back into it then. I guess it'd be good to know a few simple ways, like how people can start to get this structure and consistency, and also how do people start to work out whether they are eating enough as well.
So there's plenty of ways to do it. Obviously, there's macronutrient calculators like the Benedict Harris or Harris Benedict equation and stuff like that. But the best thing that I get to do and I do to my athletes or individuals when I start working with them, just simply don't change anything about your nutrition for 1 week. Okay,
Yeah.
that day one, weigh yourself, right?
Okay.
Day seven, weigh yourself. see what your body weight does within that time. Okay, if it's been, make sure it's a normal week. Make sure that you don't go out for a night out or anything like that within that time. And then if you decide to track that amount of food what you have, then say person one tracks he averaged 3,000 calories each day over that 7 day period, and he maintained his body weight. His maintenance intake to maintain his bodily systems are around 3,000. If he lost a kilo, then they're around 3,500, and likewise if the weight goes up. Or simply, for the most simplistic way possible, when you start to think about the PDF structure and how many meals you have a day, 9 times out of 10, we're very repetitive humans. So we do stuff and we have the same sort of foods. Our family meal will be slightly different, but where we work, our first 3 odd meals will be the same. So after you see what your weight does within that 7 day period, all you've got to do is go, okay, going into a goal-based area, you go to yourself, all right, am I having enough carbohydrates here? Or do I need to eat more in this meal? And just add per meal or subtract per meal what you need to have. Or look at the food groups that you're having and going, oh, actually, within these food groups, I'm not having enough of this. And then just like increase it in the meal structure to make it as simplistic as possible.
Okay. Okay. So first thing to do is weigh yourself at the start of the week.
Mm,
You're going to weigh yourself at the end of the week as well.
mm.
Like I said, make sure it's a week where there's no weddings or anything like that going on.
Yeah.
And then day to day, just kind of track just in notes or an app. What would you?
Yeah, like you can. MyFitnessPal is really good to doing that. Like, so just track everything you have. You can barcode it, as simple as that. Um, and then you start to, if you use MyFitnessPal, after a week, you can go on a weekly view, and it will tell you how much average that you've had across the board. And then you can then look at stuff like that and go, okay, well, I maintain my body weight, and this is the average amount of what I ate. And then you can look at the average amount of total calories, and then you can also look at the macro breakdown and going, okay, did I hit my protein goal of 1 gram per 1 pound of body weight? Like, how was my carbohydrates in that, and how was my fat intake in that?
Okay. Okay. Great stuff. I guess this kind of then leads on to right. We've got a loose idea of how much we're eating and what maybe as well what we should be eating as well
Mm,
at this point. But let's kind of put it into the context of JST Athlete now, in a little bit more detail if we can, because obviously depending on what your goals are, surely what you should eat should maybe differ a little bit depending on if you're on the engine bias or if you're on the strength bias, as an example. So let's kind of go into that. I'll let you take the lead here.
100%. So the same as a bias is how you then manipulate your nutrition to get you to that bias, where you want to go. For instance, like the what's it called, all over track, or the
The all-rounder track, yeah.
all that's it, all round the track. It's like, okay, well, you're doing all the different energy systems. There's quite a lot of even there's a lot of volume to it. It's base building, and you're going to yourself, hey, like, what is my goal here for myself? Like, meaning, if you don't need to manip your body composition and you just want to progress in that performance, then you need to be in a maintenance intake. So you need to be eating enough to create your body to have fuel and recover. So going back to the principles of the basics is going to yourself, okay, within my structure, I am making sure that I have my training foods. So around training is my pre-workout, enough for the volume of training, and then going to yourself, okay, away from training, am I having enough fiber? Am I having enough starchy carbohydrates? Am I having enough fats and still ticking off that protein? So it's very much using, for the all-rounder track, using your body from that fuel and recovery process to get the progression. Because if you're obviously not eating enough for the all-rounder track, then performance markers is going to start to lack down
Of course.
uh,
Okay.
for that. And then when we go into, is there anything else I need to cover for that before going?
No. I think, yeah, just be good to know how you would maybe manipulate, X, Y, Z for the strength bias or, yeah, the gymnastic bias or, yeah.
So for if you're going on to the strength bias and you're saying to yourself, right, like my goal is to get stronger. Naturally, to get stronger is we need to be pushing food, or we need to be consuming food, enough food to be in at least a maintenance or a small surplus, to be creating that strength gain. Because if we're not eating enough food, then muscle mass is not going to be building and strength markers is going to be lacking as well. So how you would structure your food, so going back to that, maintenance intake, for example, athlete A who's 3,000 calories is going to yourself, right, on a daily basis, can I eat 3,200, 3,300 calories to support the extra volume of the strength phase? And then you can ask your question, okay, where do you want that food to be around? And you can go, okay, well, if I make sure that if I normally have 50 grams of carbohydrates before I train, I can take that up to 75 grams of carbohydrates. So you're giving your body that energy to be converted for that this strength session as such.
Okay. Okay. Well, what about the engine bias? So if you're probably doing quite a bit more conditioning than everyone else, is it just simply you should eat more carbs? What's the kind of
Not
situation then?
not necessarily. Like it's every track we have to aim it towards performance still. There's a certain metric towards aiming it towards performance, okay? And it's not just necessarily about the engine a track about increasing your carbohydrates.
Mhm.
It's going to yourself more just as much about timings because you're using different energy systems. For instance, I'll give you a fine example quickly. I've got the 30-minute bike test today. Right, my nutrition is going to be totally different to doing the 10-minute bike test. Okay,
Cool. Okay.
like so
Interesting.
before I'd done the 10-minute bike test, about 60 minutes to 90 minutes before, I had a high amount of sugary carbohydrates within my pre-workout. Okay, so
Okay.
stuff like mort loaf, stuff like Biscoff. Um, what else did I have? A handful of sweets, sipping on Lucozade beforehand because I'm activating that threshold. I'm trying to
Okay.
get within that short time frame as much energy out to be put out to get obviously a good score. Okay,
Yeah.
and the 30-minute test is a bit more like you're trying to offset, you're hitting it hard, but you're offsetting that threshold for as long as possible, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's going to yourself, right? Probably I can get away with scaling back the sugars a little bit, but I still need a
Mhm.
certain amount of carbs. So it then becomes on that quality approach of what you need. Um,
Okay.
and for instance, when in the climb, so we're going to have some intense sort of intervals, aren't we? Like minute intervals
Yeah.
or whatever you call it. It's like
When,
you don't need a hell of a lot of carbs to do that. You're not burning a hell of a lot of carbs, but you need
yeah.
sugars to quickly replenish your CNS. So there's
Mhm.
a sort of recovery phase towards CNS, your central nervous system, compared to just recovering your sodium potassium stores from a longer based conditioning one.
That makes sense. Okay, love that. Really interesting about the difference between the 10 and the 30-minute test that again a lot of people probably wouldn't be aware of. So yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. The gymnastic bias. So I guess this would be a little probably more similar to the all-rounder because for the people that are following the gymnastic bias, I guess it's the case where right, need to get these skills down. Some people will need to get stronger to try and get the strength to be able to do the muscle ups, that sort of stuff. A few other people maybe in the scenario where actually we might need to lose maybe a little bit of weight to kind of help with the strength, help be able to do the movements too. So I guess there's kind of maybe two people there, but I don't know what are your suggestions for maybe the gymnastic bias?
100%. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Just be really honest with yourself. Don't forget we're involved with CrossFit, which is all about functionality. Um, and that functionality is going to yourself going, all right, do I need to get stronger? Or do I what's quicker sometimes, getting stronger or being able to lose a tiny bit of weight if you need to then increase your gymnastics capacity. So it's being very honest with yourself to ask what you need to do.
Okay.
Are you still there? You've gone
I
bright
am
green.
still here. I don't know what's
Yeah, there you
them
are.
back in the room.
Yeah, so it's having that honest question and going, do I need to get rid of some inflammation and a bit of weight to then obviously increase your gymnastic capacity, and it's
Yeah.
better on the joints if you need to do that? Or do I need to get stronger? Which is then it's then deciding to go, okay, well, if I need to lose a bit of weight, then you've got to enter into a calorie deficit. But just because you're on a calorie deficit doesn't mean that you can't perform. Like I I have a client on JST who has lost I think 6 or 7 kilos,
Okay.
and they have their energy systems are really good. You just need to make your structure more specific to when you perform, to knowing actually to put your carbs around as the energy around
Interesting. Yeah.
around that training. So it's just being honest with yourself to go to yourself, hey, like for me, for instance, like um, I'm 93 kilos, and I know when I get up to 95, God, my strict handstand push-ups are hard. So what's easier is I'm naturally going to get stronger following JST, but how
Yeah.
can I improve my rate of capacity within gymnastics? And that is being around 90 to 93 kg.
Okay. Super. That's been brilliant. Um, let's kind of wrap it up there, Luke. There's a lot of great information in there that I feel like will get people off to a good start with the nutrition. Especially for this phase. I think it would be great to have you on again in the next couple of weeks to maybe go through some more information, because I feel like you've got such a wealth of knowledge there, that with some really simple things that people can implement. I think if we can sprinkle some more of these over the next couple of weeks, get people off, like I say, to this good start. I think that'd be fantastic if you're
Yeah,
keen.
100% we'd be keen to do a video and have, if like people give us sort of questions to answer and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
I feel like it would be good to know what you guys offer, so then JST athletes are aware of, like, oh right, okay, this is maybe how I can level up my nutrition a little bit further, and potentially get in touch with you guys.
100%. So first of all, guys, like we offer, if you wanting to talk to us, we offer a free strategy call. So just like you lose nothing out of it. Come and speak to us. Tell us what you're looking to achieve, everything like that. Our programs that we offer is a one-to-one bespoke nutrition plan. So we dive into the depths of you as an individual and you as an athlete as well, and we connect the both up, so we have a structured plan going forward. So that's our flagship. With that, you get weekly check-ins from us. You get weekly plans. We follow the data. We take the guesswork out of your life, so you know how you feel when you feel it, and it creates that progression there. We also offer a one-off plan, and that is a similar to like a consultation, but it's like an hour to an hour and a half strategy call for people who, I don't know, want a sort of the bowling alley rails on, just to keep them heading in the right direction. So we plan out the next 4 weeks for them, and they'll just get a one-off plan to strategize how they get to that marker of where they want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys can find us through Instagram. You can, we've got obviously our website, Noble Nutrition. So yeah, get in contact, guys.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Luke. I'll make sure again that I drop the PDF and the link to the PDF in this post, so people will can again kind of have a look through while they maybe rewatching this or listening to this this conversation, so it all kind of makes a bit more sense as well. But yeah, thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you, my man. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll speak soon.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
so
you, Luke.
much.
Bye.